Welcome back to another video class for music. Today we are going to be learning about and creating our own circle of fifths. What is a circle of fifths? It is a visual representation of all of the diatonic, otherwise known as major scales, with their assigned sharps and flats. Before we begin creating our circle of fifths, there are two definitions that I wanted to go over with you guys. First one is a sharp, which kind of looks like a hashtag or the pound key. A sharp is a symbol that raises a note by a half step. So if you had a keyboard in front of you to have some visuals, we're going to use this as an example. Here's the note G. If I wanted to raise that by a half step, I'm going to go up to that black key that is adjacent to it, making it G sharp. On the contrary, a flat, which kind of looks like a lowercase b, is the symbol that lowers a note by a half step. So sharp is bringing it up by a half step, a flat is lowering it by a half step. We're going to use the note A for our example. So I have A. If I go back to the adjacent black key to its left, that brings me to A flat. Notice how if I start on G and go up, or if I start on A and go down, I land on the same note, calling it G sharp or A flat. This is what is known as the enharmonic equivalent. It is one note sharing two names. And the reason I bring that up is because when we're creating our circle of fifths, there are going to be some overlapping key signatures. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you're going to need to do with our circle of fifths is, of course, draw a circle. Make sure that your circle is large enough where you can draw all of the key signatures and all their sharps and flats. The first key signature that you are going to put on the top is C. So think of it kind of like a clock. I am putting my letter on the inside of my circle just so that I have enough room to write all of the sharps and the flats when we get there. You can do it on the outside. It's totally up to you, but this is just my preference. So C is going to be at the top. The reason it's at the top is because there are no sharps and no flats in that key signature. If I was playing the scale, starting on C and playing all the way up using the formula of the half and whole steps for the diatonic scale, you do not use any of the black keys. So the formula here is what I showed you guys a few weeks ago with your major scales or your diatonic scale. So we start on one note, you go up a whole step, a half step, another whole step, and then land on your last half step. You are going to then make your first key signature to the right. So we call this visual a circle of fifths because you are going to go up by a fifth for your next key. So every time you go around the circle, you're going to be going up by a fifth. If I start on the letter C, so we're going to count C as 1, C, D, E, F, G. That's where that letter is coming from. The first letter after your letter C is going to be G. We are going to increase the amount of sharps going this direction. So by that standpoint, you are going to have one sharp in the key of G. If we start on the note G and play that scale, the diatonic scale, using the formula for it, the sharp that I'm going to use in that key is F sharp. As we continue building, a fifth higher from G is D. You're going to add another sharp. So now we have two sharps in this key signature. When you're figuring out which sharp you're using, it kind of works the same way as the actual scale. So you're going to keep the sharps that you had in the previous scale. So I still have F sharp. It's not going to go anywhere. If you go up a fifth from F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp, C sharp. So I've gone up another fifth and landed on C sharp. So here are the three keys we have so far. So 0 sharps, 1 sharp, and 2 sharps. We're going to continue. A fifth higher from D is A, and using that same pattern, you are going to have a third sharp. Keeping F sharp, C sharp, and going higher from a fifth higher from C sharp is G sharp. So now we have 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. If you figured out the pattern at this point, a fifth higher from A is E with 4 sharps, keeping the first 3 from the previous, and we're adding D sharp because it's a fifth higher than G sharp. So here are your 4 sharps, and your key signature is E. A fifth higher from E is B with 5 sharps, keeping the first 4, and now we're adding A sharp. A couple of you guys went ahead and filled out a circle of fifths that I had accidentally sent out a couple weeks ago, and this is where a lot of pitfalls happened. A fifth higher from B is not F. It is actually F sharp. So if you're using that whole, half, whole, so this is the first part of the scale formula. Going from B, you land on F sharp. So this was the major tricky part, and then it kind of, based on that, the whole rest of the circle of fifths was incorrect. So again, make sure that your 6 sharp keys are in F sharp. So again, we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and now we're adding E sharp to our circle of fifths. Here's the last key going up by a sharp. So this will be the most amount of sharps you'll have, 7 sharps. From F sharp, your fifth higher is C sharp. And you're going to keep all of these. I'm not going to write them out simply just because I don't have enough room on the board. But you're going to keep all of these, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and you're going to add B sharp. There is some space over here, as you can see, and this is where we're going to be writing our keys that are using flats. We are going to follow the same pattern as we did for going up a fifth in the sharps, but this time you are going to go backwards. So a fifth lower from C, so we have C, B, A, G, F. We're going to go to F, which has 1 flat. So as we go this way, we're going to be adding sharps. This way we're adding flats. The first flat we're going to use is B flat. To determine your next key, you can do one of 2 things. You can either go backwards by a fifth, just like I had done from C to F. F going back a fifth is B flat, or you can use the the accidental flat that is used in the previous key. So notice I have B flat as my first flat. I'm going to use that for my next key signature. So B flat is the next key with 2 flats, keeping your B flat, and we're going to add E flat. And to determine what flat I'm going to have in the key that I'm solving for, you're going to go backwards by a fifth. So a fifth back from B flat is E flat. You're going to have E flat as your next key as well. Your third key is E flat, as I had mentioned before. B flat and E flat are still there. Going backwards a fifth from E flat, you get A flat. So those are your three flats in the key signature of E flat. It's getting a little bit crowded on this board, but I'm going to do my best to keep everything formatted on the same page. Going backwards from E flat, you get A flat. A flat has four flats. You're keeping B flat, E flat, and A flat, and you're going to add D flat to this key. Okay, so the term enharmonic equivalence comes into play here. We have C, the key of C sharp, which has 7 sharps. You can also name it D flat. They're all the same notes. However, you are going to rename them in the context of a flat key. We have 5 flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat are still there. We're going to add G flat to that key signature. Same goes for F sharp and G flat. So our next flat key is G flat. You have 6 flats in this one. So this is the one key that has an equal amount of sharps and an equal amount of flats. Your 6 flats are B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. And going on to our last flat key, C flat, which is equal to B major. The reason it's equal to B major rather than a sharp key, in between the notes B and C on a keyboard, you can see that there is no black key in between them. So if you go backwards from C natural, back by a half step, you are still on a white key, thus making it the key of B. So C flat and B are the same. And this is where you have your 7 flats. B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat, and F flat. In case the video went a little bit too fast in understanding how I came up with those sharps and flats in my key signatures, again, we're going to go back to our formula here. So this would be our starting note, the whole step, whole half, whole, whole half. I'm going to use the example of the key of A major, which had 3 sharps. So my first note here would be A, because we're in the key of A, so the first scale degree is going to be A. A whole step from A is B. A whole step from B is C sharp. The reason it's not C is because if you're looking, it's a little easier to see on a piano. I can show some visuals as well. From B to C, there is no black key in between. So to make that a whole step, to create that whole step, I go to C sharp. A half step from C sharp is D. A whole step from D is E. A whole step from E is not F, because from E to F there's no black key in between, so I need to create that sharp. E to F sharp. F sharp to G sharp is our next whole step. G sharp. And then the half step from G sharp is A. Here are my 3 sharps. F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. And the reason I'm going in that order, starting on F sharp, going back to C sharp and to G sharp, is just by following the circle of fifths and how I've added each of the prior sharps with using the other key signatures. For your assignment, what I would like for you to do is create your own circle of fifths, take a picture of it, and show me. Your circle of fifths should include all of the key signatures, starting on C, going over to G, going clockwise, and then going counterclockwise backwards circle back a fifth. You should label how many sharps and how many flats there are in that key, and you should also label what those sharps and flats are. So just in the way that I had drawn it out, I would like you to do the same. Take a picture of it when you're done with it, send it to me. You can make it as fancy as you want. If you want to get creative and colorful, by all means, you can do that. If you don't, it's fine too. So that will be your assignment to go along with this video. I will also be sending along an attachment of a piano with all of the notes labeled. That way you can see how I came up with all of those answers and how I came up with all those key signatures, where everything came from. I'll be sending out one more short video on Wednesday discussing the order of the sharps and flats that were in the circle of fifths and good ways to remember what that order is. And that's it. All right, have a fabulous week, and I look forward to seeing all of your circle of fifths. Good night.